First video with a new camera. Any improvements always welcome, and hopefully the video is a little bit sharper and the sound's probably a little bit better too. Pick up in the mic a bit better with the sound. I've just got you pointed down at the Spindle drive unit at the moment. I've just shown you this because I've gone through and cleaned this whole unit up, so I've stripped it all down and given it a good clean. So I've stripped it down to pretty much just a cabinet as you see it. And I've got all the components bolted back in. I didn't bring you in on it stripped down. Obviously, there's not much to show you. But I've gone through. This side wasn't so bad. There's just a bit of light dust. There's a heat exchanger that bolts on below this unit that I'll take you down to the end and show you shortly. It was probably the reason for stripping down the unit. Some of the things you'll notice probably straight away that you'll probably know of. There's the contactor there. Main isolation switch, which is a breaker as well, so your power comes directly into this unit and goes out to the other components in the electrical cabinet, which I'll show you shortly. So as working our way along, eventually get the word right, working our way along, and you see a lot of modules and coils and things like that. So this is all bolted onto a heat exchanger, so just taking you down to the end now. So in behind this painted grill there, you can see another fine grill in behind there, which is the heat exchanger itself. So what there is two cooling fans which actually bolt on at the top of the unit here and duct the air from the bottom of the unit up to the top here and vent it out, which I'll show you shortly. Not that I really need to, but I'll just show you just for the sake of the detail of those who are interested. So we have two cooling fans. We're obviously not in there at the moment. The reason they're not in there is I'm sort of thinking about maybe replacing them. There's probably about a good percentage chance I probably will replace them, mainly because not so bad. They're fairly quiet, but the concern is while the unit's actually switched on, these cooling fans are running, regardless of what the spindle's doing or whatever. As soon as you flick on the main switch, these cooling fans are running. So as long as there's actually power supplied, these are turning. So my concern is that they're probably due for a change. They've been fine. They were working before I disassembled the machine, but I don't want to take any chances, I should say, with these fans failing, because this drive unit is fairly expensive to rebuild. There's not a replacement as such that you can just go and buy. They do them as a changeover unit that are available from Mazak. They rebuild your old one and give you a replacement, or you can have yours done if you want to wait the time for it. But normally it's basically like how an automatic transmission works in your car. They charge you for a changeover unit and probably do $600 worth of work, but they charge anything from figures that I've heard thrown around of anything from 3 to 5K depending on the unit itself. So I want to try and do the minimum I can do to try and preserve any risk of anything failing. I suppose electrical components are going to fail regardless, but as far as keeping the heat out of the unit is the minimum I can do to look after the unit. So I'll just take you over quickly and just show you inside the cabinet itself, not to drag it on for too long. So I've got you pointed inside the electrical cabinet at the moment with the doors wide open, so you can see everything that fits inside. So going over one of the doors, so I've mounted these units in just to get everything bolted back in. I just wanted to get the main parts bolted back into the machine, just to have them sitting around and just to have them actually have something actually physically done. So all the main parts are going in now, and I'll show you where the actual spindle drive unit goes in a moment. This one, you're probably not much sure to show you. I won't go in total detail, but you can recognise some of the things. There's a few relays and things like that there, just for your when you're pressing your buttons and things that are flicking on and off. There's just relays on that side of the door, and there are some fuses in behind that board, which I've gone through and cleaned everything. Taking you over to the other door, and there's another heat exchanger for the main cabinet itself. Is another heat exchanger here that goes the full length of the door. So just taking you back down to the bottom. So there's a couple of cooling fans down here for inside the cabinet itself. You can see how clean they are. So I've gone through and cleaned. Things are either getting cleaned or replaced or repainted or whatever. You know the scenario by now of how I do this machine. And just going through and cleaning everything as much as it can be cleaned. These fans were pretty good. They were pretty clean. They haven't been replaced as I will replace those other fans, but they are in fairly good order. They're not in a dusty environment. Inside there, they were just a bit of a light dust, so they should be fine. Everything was running good when I had the machine running, so I don't see any problems. But I just replaced those other fans just for the sake of it. So just close the door so I can make a bit more sense of that hole I have in the door now. So the heat exchanger, as you can see through there, so you have two cooling fans, which I've shown you in the previous video. Just going down to the bottom now, so it draws the outside air in, or hopefully cool air in from outside, or atmosphere air in, ducts up through the door, up to the top, so vents out through the door, the same as the heat exchanger on that drive unit. Just take you inside the cabinet itself now. So these two units you can see in front of you at the moment are for the servo drives. So you have your Z-axis servo drive unit, and that's the X-axis, so that's just to drive your servo motors. And just below that is the, I suppose, the brains of the business, I suppose you could say. This is the CNC controller, so this is all your, I suppose, like your hard drive in your computer, you could say. So all the information stored inside this unit. So this makes everything go in the right direction at the right time. And I've got a few things that look like have been thrown in the bottom there, probably a little bit loose because I had to push it out the way to get the drive unit in. But these are the parts that have just been placed in the bottom there, and I've had to sort of pull them, as I say, out the way to make a bit of room to get the drive unit into the top corner. I'll just show you shortly. But these will all make more sense as we sort of get to them anyway. Just take you over to this cavity over here. So I'll put a new gasket on here. And inside this cavity is where the actual heat exchanger bolts. So half of it, as I say before, half of it's heat exchanger, half of it's electrical. So electrical bolts in front of the gasket, and the heat exchanger obviously bolts back in behind that. So I'll take you inside so that makes a bit more sense. So we've got a filter down here that's drawing air from outside, enters into the heat exchanger into this cavity, vents up through inside, which is drawn up by the fans, goes up to the top here, and vents out through the back of the unit here. So I'll just take you around the other side and just show you what I mean by that. So bringing you around to the outside of the electrical cabinet, but the inside of the machine itself. So this is the back of the electrical cabinet, so just taking you down. So as you can see, the spindle motor down there, you've got the cooling fan for the spindle down there. So that vents out into the actual cabinet itself, and we have another cooling fan that vents this area as well, and that'll all make sense as we sort of start putting parts in. And the grill, that grill we were looking at, that painted grill, sits about 1 inch above this cutout here, so the air obviously draws up through and gets ducted out into this area here. So what I'll do is I'll just pop the unit in, and then I'll bring you back with it bolted in, just so you can understand exactly what's going on. I don't really need to, but apologies, the light's just gone out a little bit there. Just trying to get used to the new camera. And my light's going the opposite direction. But I'll just pause you, and then I'll bring you back with the unit just bolted in, so you can actually see it in place. As I say, not a big deal to show you that, but just sort of show you as part of the video. Just bringing you back with the unit installed inside now. I've just got the covers. These are the sheet metal covers, just go over the front of it just to protect the front of it. So obviously you have down the bottom there, in behind that cover there is where the contact and the main switch was. So you have the cables coming through the bottom there. But as I say, that'll make a bit more sense when you start to see the spaghetti of cables coming in from every direction soon. We'll get on to probably wiring everything up. Just wanted to get that unit just sitting in place. As I say, the main goal was just to get all the main parts bolted inside the cabinet. There's only one other thing I got to do. You just see a bit of light coming down on that bottom right hand corner there. I've just got to make up another sheet metal panel there, because the one that was originally on there had some holes cut in there or bored in there for something else, something external wired up to the outside there for some reason. So I've just got to make up a new sheet metal panel and replace that anyway, powder coat it or paint it to the same colour as the cabinet, and just get it all sealed up. Just a couple of holes through the back there, so I start bringing cables in soon. So probably the main thing to do now is just go back and work on the spindle now, which you guys have probably started seeing, would have seen basically before this video, I suppose you could say, I guess in that order, that you guys would have already seen. And just sort of finding my way through, and as I say, all these sort of bits and pieces down the bottom here will start to make a bit more sense as I start to screw them into position where they've got to go, and slowly get it sorted out. But that'll probably do for this video. Let's just sort of bring you up to date what was happening for the electrical cabinet more so. So that was probably the most of what I could show you, and just take you back around the back again just for once to finish off the video. The only bad part I've seen after I put this drive unit in is I see the paint job's not good. So that's the only thing that's a little bit disappointing. If I had spotted that before, I would have probably repowder coated that cabinet, but I had it all stripped apart, and it's probably getting a bit carried away. But it's just a bit of a shame that there's this against this, You can see straight away, this is the nice powder coated finish, and you just got the original. That's the back of the, where you guys are looking down through that grill, so you'll see 2 cooling fans in through here, possibly in future videos when I replace those 2 cooling fans in through there. And I just wanted to show you that so it makes a bit more sense of how that works. And as I say, that's just at the back of the cabinet now. So it just ducts out through that area there. So as I say, there's a heat exchanger at half of it inside that cavity, and the other half's inside the cabinet itself. But that'll do for this video, and I look forward to bringing you back on the next one, and I'll talk to you guys then. Okay, bye for now.